Sports presents Benning Bites with Damon Benning. Benning Bites with Damon Benning.
Another episode of Benning Bites. Welcome. Appreciate you guys, gals, being a part of what it is that we do over here at Hurrdat Sports. However you get us, Apple, Google, Spotify, do those things because we appreciate you. Big show coming up here on a Friday. But first, man, we got on this roll yesterday with Nebraska and where they need to be and kind of what's been going on with the coaching staff and these interviews. And it started with Mitch Sherman, and then I talked about it a little after the segment where it's kind of finally dawning on me what I think Nebraska's after in terms of this staff and why he built the staff the way that he did with young, hungry guys. And it's definitely intentional because I've said this for years for anybody that's listened to me in other formats. You know, Nebraska is a place that can spoil you, and you have to be careful and have some built-in guardrails because things can get away from you. The media, for the most part, is extremely friendly. There's not a lot of there's just not a lot of public negativity that typically surrounds the program. There may be, people grumble, and don't get me wrong, in 20 years it's been tough, but compared to some other big markets, right, it's fairly nice. The fan support is unbelievable. Your expense account is big. You have a lot of things at your disposal, money at your expense. People treat you well. You go in places, you get a lot of free things. You're highly recognized. It's the highest paying job in the state. And so it has to be in your DNA to be a grinder, right? You people have heard me say this before, and I think with Coach Rhule, he built the staff intentionally a certain way to be hungry, young, hungry guys, because this place can, like I said, it can spoil you. And he's been on this, and there's just something about him that is constantly trying to instill embracing the struggle. Right, I think he wants there to be this strain that keeps you sharp because it's powerful. It's not just continuous work. It's continuous struggle. And, he'll quote these lines from Martin Luther King that talked about the beauty of the struggle and the process to see the fruits of your labor. And I think he subscribes to it. And it's really something that I think we need to really rally around and embrace instead of, because there'll be these contingencies in our fan base where we'll say, oh, this isn't the glory years and, get out of the 90s. And people are like, no, you need to know where you come from. So, you understand what the expectation level is. And we have these crazy back and forth about how to embrace history from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And I think for him, it's pretty simple. And it's the way that he started his recruiting process, right? I mean, going after big names, big guns, all in, because he doesn't want people to think that Nebraska is second fiddle, right? You just can't, it's not going to take a backseat to anybody. This is Nebraska. And this is what it should be. It's part of the reason why he's here. It's because of the tradition and how great and rich a program it is. And he doesn't use it as past tense. It is. But in the same vein, he stays razor sharp on knowing that while you're not a second-rate program, historically you've been second-rate currently. And it's not good enough. We've heard all the little quotes now that you can piece together where he talks about doing the little things and taking the football acumen and getting consistency and being dependable and being able to be counted on and doing the right things off the field and how that will help you win close games on the field because it has to be bigger than you. It has to be muscle memory. Guys doing things the same way, wearing the same things because it's about the uniformity of the struggle. He struggles just like you do. Just there's growth in that. And I think he thinks it's powerful. And we have to get over this mindset. Even though we're not a second-rate program by nature, we've played like a second-rate program. So you can embrace one and be mad about the other and still not be a bad fan. You're not a bad fan if you acknowledge that you haven't been good, but you aspire to be what you once were. Like, you can't apologize for that. You just can't succumb to it and not want to embrace the work, right? We can't turn our – remember I said this early when Nebraska joined the Big Ten. I said, we need to look at some other programs that were currently winning that we were afraid to say out loud in terms of comps. I'd say, look at Michigan State. Because at the time, 2012, 2013, Michigan State was in that D'Antonio love affair, right, where they were doing big things and winning double-digit games. And I said, we can't be afraid to say that out loud. That's not the program benchmark that we would have used 15 years ago, but it was where we were currently. Oh, no. You look now, like, just the distorted sense of where we're at. And what Coach Rhule is doing is he's not letting people forget about that. You can't feel entitled. And I think he thinks, listen, this is coaches and players alike. What he doesn't want to have happen in these recruiting battles, going after big guns, if you lose out a recruit to Minnesota or to K-State or to Wisconsin, he's like, look, man, why would players come here now? Wisconsin's won 8 or 9 in a row. We're 3-7 in our last 10 against Minnesota. K-State just played for a conference championship. We need to give them a reason to come here. He uttered the phrase, hey, we're not here to say thank you and hug the fans. We're here to win games. And I think him ingraining that, it's a trickle-down effect. It keeps the coaches sharp, and it keeps the players sharp. Because you open against Minnesota, and it can't be the fact that you think it's your birthright just because Nebraska is supposed to be a better program than Minnesota. Minnesota's won 7 of the last 10. I just said that, right? And it's not about what we did in the 90s or what other people did in the 80s. It's embracing the struggle and knowing where you've come from so you don't revisit it again. If you don't like the way you feel about something and how something made you feel because of an outcome, then it's our job to work your ass off to make sure that you don't put yourself in position to feel like that again. And I think that's what he's after. That's the duality in the message. Hey, we've gone after these big guns. We say big things about what we want the program to be because of what Nebraska is. But in the same vein, he's going to tell you, we work our ass off and we're as dialed in with attention to detail because of what Nebraska has been. Those two things have a lot of the same words, but they mean different things. He's trying to get us out of, well, because we have been, we should be, versus because we have been, we need to work to be. That's the difference. And I think that's what he's after, and I think that's what we're hearing with his sense of urgency, because he loves football, but he loves competing even more. So when you marry those two things, you don't guarantee victories, but you give yourself a chance to win. And I think that's absolutely what he's after. It's another episode of Benning Bites.